Local broadcast of this program is made possible by grants from Pensacola Junior College, the Florida Department of Education, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Bonjour, mes amis, and welcome to Gourmet Cooking. We're going to try a little brunch dish for a change. We're going to do an egg dish, a nice poached eggs with some shrimp and some Hollandaise sauce. We're going to put that into some nice little patty shells or bouchées. And we're going to do all those things rather quickly because there's several combinations of things and it takes a little time. Along with that, we're going to have some nice creamed spinach and a nice salad with our Creole dressing. Sort of a Creole brunch type thing. So, for those of you that are interested, the egg dish, and it happens to be called Eggs Peyroux, is on page 39 in Volume 1 of Gourmet Cooking. The Hollandaise sauce, the poaching of the eggs, and the shrimp sauce are all there together. The creamed spinach is on page 208 in Volume 1, and the Creole salad is on page 49. So, with that, let's proceed. Now, the first thing we have to do is get some of these little patty shells going. Now, we're using a commercial variety here. This is a Pepperidge Farm type thing. You've all seen it in the market. They're frozen, and they're very easy to do. You simply open the package, and I think most of us can do that. We take them out, and you can see they're frozen very hard. We want to place them on an ungreased cookie sheet with the scored part up. Now, the oven that they're going to go into has been at 450 degrees, and we're going to put these in that oven and immediately turn it down to 450. This should take about 20 minutes, and when we finish, those will have been risen about 4 or 5 times their height. Be nice and light, and we can hollow them out and use them with a filling. So let's put these in our oven. Our oven is at 450 degrees. We'll put it in and we'll turn that down to 400, and that should take 20 to 25 minutes. So now that we got those going, that'll just about be the right time for us to knead them. At the end of the show, we need to go with a Hollandaise sauce. Now that's going to require just a few ingredients. It's one of those wonderful, wonderful sauces. It's going to be lemon juice, butter, and egg yolk. So taking this little skillet, or rather little stock pot, saucepan, let's put the 4 egg yolks that I have here into the saucepan. And we need the juice of 1 lemon. These are nice big lemons, and I like it real lemony. But Hollandaise is that nice, rich, creamy sauce that goes so well on vegetables, on eggs, on fish, on a number of things. It's one of the basic mother sauces. And, you know, there are the bechamel, the velouté, the mother sauces, the Hollandaise, the demi-glacé, and the vinaigrette, the basic mother sauces. This is, the Hollandaise is the basic mother sauce of the emulsion type sauces. Now let's go over to our heat here, and we're going to put that on heat. I need to get my whisk, of course. I didn't bring it over. We want to blend that lemon juice and the egg yolk. Now the trick to this is to constantly stay with it. Our objective is to incorporate the butter into the egg yolk without cooking the egg yolk and having it curdle on us. Now we need a little salt to this, and we've got the heat up, and we're going to do this. Now it's safer to do this in a double boiler, but if you put it right on the heat, you simply stay with it, whisking all the time, taking it off as we go. So now we've got the egg yolk and the lemon juice with a little bit of salt in it. Let's put a little butter, and as this comes up to heat, that butter will melt and incorporate right into the egg yolk. Now we have 4 egg yolks, the juice of 1 lemon, about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, And into that we want to incorporate and form an emulsion 1/2 pound of butter. So we have these 2 sticks of butter, which represent 1/2 pound. This takes a few minutes, but it shouldn't take too terribly long. That butter is beginning to melt and blend with the egg yolk. Again, the secret of this is simply not to let that egg yolk cook, because once it gets too far, it'll curdle and you have a ruined sauce. There are a few tricks to saving it, but usually, sometimes it can't be. The main thing is just don't let it curdle. Stay with it. Work that butter in slowly. And if you do have a beginning of a curdling sauce, you quickly remove it from the fire, add a tablespoon of water, and whisk very, very hard. Frequently, that will restore the sauce, and you can proceed with it and not have to start all over or lose your sauce. Now, when we have the sauce made in a few minutes, we will then proceed with a couple of other things, but one of those will be our shrimp filling that goes with the poached egg. Now remember, we have our bouchées, or our little pastry cases, cooking in the oven now. And they should be ready when we are. All right, the butter is incorporating just nicely, and this sauce is beginning to thicken and will be nice and thick and very flavorful. Now, the only other seasoning we will add to this is a little bit of cayenne pepper, but we won't do that until the end. All right, we're halfway there, except that this half should go a little faster since the sauce now is fairly hot. A lot of people are afraid of a hollandaise because it curdles if you're not careful, but really it's a very simple sauce to make, a few basic rules. Now, if this will look like it was getting too hot, I'd simply pull it off stove, but this is not getting too hot. The butter is melting just nicely, but it is a sauce that you must stay with. All right, let's get a little bit more butter here so that we can have it incorporated. And we need to move on to our other things so that we will finish dinner on time. Butter is incorporating. I don't know if you can see, but the sauce is leaving little streaks in it. It means it's getting nice and thick, and the emulsification is occurring. And so far, we have not curdled our sauce. Now, I don't know if you've been watching the clock, but we have only been doing this for about a little over 3 minutes. So you can see this wonderful sauce that so many people have a fear of is really very simple. If you just stay with it, and remember, you do not want to let that egg curdle, and that's... Now I have this on medium or medium-high heat, and we just about have a hollandaise. All right, you can see the sauce is like the consistency of a mayonnaise. Now let's go back to the center here and let me explain. I've got my sauce, I'm real pleased with it, and if I go on and let it sit, I guarantee you it will curdle. And why? Because there's residual heat in that pot, and since we won't be stirring it anymore, it will continue to cook, and that's where you can get in trouble. But the way to avoid that is simply to take the sauce out of the hot pot and put it aside. Now, we'll have that sauce when we're ready for it in a few minutes. Now, let's go quickly to our other sauce and our spinach. We might have to do them both at the same time. This sauce is going to be for the shrimp. I have butter. I have 4 tablespoons of butter, and we need to let that melt. In the meantime, we get an onion prepared. We need 1 onion, chopped. So we cut it. It can be in nice pieces. It doesn't have to be that fine because it's going to blend in with the shrimp, and the shrimp will be rather large also. Now, we have our butter melting, and we need to saute these onions. So let's put those right into our pot. The butter's not quite hot enough, but it will be there in a moment. And in order to save a little time, let's let it go. All right, now, I cut that whole onion, but part of that onion I really want to go in with a little bit of the onion with the spinach. So let me take just a little out and we'll add it there. So you have about a half of an onion for the shrimp sauce and about a half of an onion for our spinach. Our butter will melt there. We want to let that get sauteing also. We've got them both up on high now. So let's go to our shrimp. Now we've already boiled these shrimp, and there's going to be about a cup of shrimp. You can cut them in smaller pieces. I happen to have some nice small shrimp. I boil those and shell them so they'll be ready to go in our sauce. Our sauce now, though, this is our shrimp sauce. We need to add 1/3 cup of flour. We cook that just for a minute or so. We'll add some salt and a little pepper. And once that's blended together and that flour is cooked just for a few seconds, we can add now 2 cups of milk. Now I've had it heated simply to help make this part of the sauce go faster. If I had used cold milk, it would have taken longer for this to come back. We want to blend that together so that our sauce will thicken. We blend the milk and the flour. That was a roux we made of flour and butter, and we had the onions. And now we want this sauce to thicken a little. And while it's getting a little heat up, we can go ahead now and move on to our spinach, which too needs to go into the other skillet. So what we're doing is 2 dishes simultaneously, as you can see. But in both cases, we had a little onion sauteing to do. I'm removing the garnish from the spinach. This spinach was frozen spinach, chopped spinach, and all we did was thaw it out and cook it for about 5 minutes in boiling water, drained it very, very thoroughly. Now, to the onions, we want to add our spinach. We've drained most of the water out. Putting that little dish aside. We'll let that come up to heat. Blending those onions with the spinach. A little bit here I dropped. Now we come back to our sauce, and it's rather thick. And to that we want to add now 1/3 cup of heavy cream, which is an enrichment. And we can add our shrimp. So now we'll have our sauce. This will cook for a minute or so. It'll get a little thicker, but this will be a basis for filling our bouchées when they cook. So putting that aside, let's go over to our spinach. And we need to add to our spinach 2 ingredients. Let's pick up a little bit of this onion and the lemon that we used for a garnish and put it out the way. We have some cream cheese, some soft cream cheese, which we want to blend in along with a little bit of cream, heavy cream. We need to blend this into our spinach. And we'll let that cook on a very low heat, a simmer, and just get nice and hot. We'll add a little bit of seasoning in a moment, but we have our spinach cooking with the cream cheese and a little bit of cream. Now, I've held back a little cream if we need a little more, but it looks like this is all right now. All right, let's go on turning our sauce down. It's about ready with our shrimp. We'll let that just stay on a heat. Now, let's go to our eggs, which we need to poach. We need some eggs. I've already poached most of them, and we'll do 2 right now. All right, we have 2 eggs. We'll add to the ones I've already done. And they take about 2 to 3 minutes to poach. Our water isn't quite up to heat, but let's rinse this spoon. I need this one because it has holes in it, and we'll need that. Now, to this water that we're going to poach our eggs, we want to add about 2 tablespoons of a vinegar. This will help the eggs shape and come together without going all over the place. But sometimes it just depends on the freshness of the egg as to how it comes out. We've already done most of the eggs, and I have those here. And as soon as that comes up, we'll do our other 2 that we need. Now, let's take these out and put those on that little tray I had, which I now do not have, but we'll just do it right here on the counter. Now, what we did was poach these eggs earlier. We put them in cold water to stop the cooking. Now, they've been sitting aside for a couple of hours, really, and we're going to use these, so I want to take them out of the water. These are going to go in the oven for a few minutes, and they'll reheat. In the meantime, though, I'd like to drain them. And so they won't have so much water going into the dish. We can lightly pat these. Now, you can do this part of the dish very early in the morning. Let's move our sauce off the fire there. And hold them until you're ready to use them. It'd be a lot of work to do all this at the last minute. So our spinach now is doing nicely. I think we can add this little extra cream that I held out to make our nice cream spinach. While we're waiting for that water to come up so we can poach, we can add the final ingredient to our spinach, and that's going to be a little bit of Peyroux liqueur. Now, we used Peyroux some weeks ago when we did oysters Rockefeller. And it's a licorice tasting or an anise tasting liqueur, which is a great complement to the spinach. So we'll add that now, and we'll have our creamed spinach in a second. All right, our water is not quite ready, but we think we can go. That should be just at the boiling point, what you might call a simmer. Let's take our egg, and as we pour, we twirl the water around the egg so that the white will congeal and firm up if we're lucky. If we're not, we'll have a couple of eggs that don't look too well. But these look like they're doing nicely. So we'll let those cook for about 3 minutes. Let's put some of the extra things out of our way. And probably our bouchée should be ready. So let's go to the oven while those 2 eggs are poaching. And yes, they're beautiful. Let's take our bouchées out of the oven. As you can see, those little flat discs just rose maybe 4, 5, 6 times their own height. And that's done by the fact that these were made with layers of dough with thin layers of butter in between. And as they cook and that butter melts and the pastry expands, they just rise, but they stay flaky. In French, they call that millefeuille, or 1,000 leaves. So that's what we have, is a pastry that is like 1,000 leaves. Now, these are nicely done. The ones I did before were a little dark because I left them in a little while. But let's take these. Once we have them done, we take the lid off, and you will find some uncooked dough on the inside. You simply scrape that out. Using a fork might have been a better idea, but you scoop out. If you let them cool, they're a little easier to handle and to work with. So let's just put this aside. It's still hot. And take another on and use the ones that I had earlier, and I had cleaned most of them. Oh, this one here was not. That was the one I was going to show you. So we'll take that one. This is now cool, see? And it's a lot easier to handle when they are cool. You take the lid off. We save those lids because that's very edible. And the uncooked portion on the inside is easy to remove. And again, a fork is a handy tool to do that with. I just don't have one handy. All right, we have now some of our bouchées. Let's see if we can't get one more, simply to give us, I think, 8. There we are. We have the uncooked portion, which we now want to pull out. And we want to assemble these quickly because we're going to run out of time. We take a little bit of our sauce and put it into each one of our bouchées, about 3/4 full. If we have extra sauce, we can serve it on the side so that individuals can add to what's already on their plate. So we put this sauce aside, and taking our nice poached eggs, we lay one on top of each, on top of our shrimp. Oop, this one broke. All right. We had a few extras, I think. Now, let's go back to our eggs here. Have to take this one. These two are about ready. We normally would take those out of the water and put them in cold water to stop the cooking. All right. Now, we won't wait for those because we already have these. We then take a little bit of our Hollandaise sauce and place it on top of each one. All right, we can serve extra Hollandaise on the side. We can then sprinkle with a little paprika. And these should go in the oven for a few minutes anyway, just to heat them up and to crisp up the... Now, we're running short of time, so as usual. So let's go with the service of our other items, and we'll be able to go back to our nice eggs in the bouché cases. We have our nice cream spinach. It's delicious. The flavor and the fragrance is just wonderful. There's nothing to this dish, as you can see. We'll garnish that with a little slice of lemon, place that on our table, and go quickly now. See if I can't make a salad dressing very quickly. And that's going to involve a nice big tablespoon of brown mustard, a tablespoon or so of horseradish and the vinegar and our olive oil. All right, I'm rushing a little bit, but this will get the dressing made. We want then to put a little bit of our dressing onto our salad, and we'll put the rest into a nice little container to be served individually at the table. So our salad's on the table. We need only now, and I think about 1 minute remaining, to put our bouchées on our serving tray, and a spatula would be better. We'll then go over and pour a little wine. Pouring a little wine will really add to this wonderful dish. So we have now our eggs Peyroux, or our œuf Peyroux, which is our shrimp sauce with poached egg, Hollandaise sauce, a beautiful Creole salad with a Creole dressing to go with it, and some beautiful creamed spinach. With that, we're going to have a little bit of the blush wine or a pink wine, just because it's a nice morning breakfast type of dish. It'll add a wonderful complement. A little French bread to go with that salad and the dressing, and we have a scrumptious meal. One I enjoy, one I think you will enjoy. Hope you'll join me. A bientôt.